Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Warm greetings to all retired civil servants, veterans, police officers, military personnel, and to every family member who has stood faithfully beside their parents through the long, uncertain years of retirement. Picture a quiet morning. The house is still, the television is off. A cup of coffee sits warm on the table, still steaming. A gentle breeze drifts through the window and settles over an old man who has just lowered himself into his favorite chair. His eyes drift into the distance, not at anything in particular, just at the slow, peaceful weight of a morning that belongs entirely to him. The children are busy. The grandchildren are at school. The neighborhood is quiet, and for a moment everything feels still. Then the phone starts. One notification, then 3, then 20. The WhatsApp group for retirees is alive again, buzzing and humming like it always does when a rumor starts spreading. Stiff fingers scroll the screen slowly. Someone writes, "Has yours come through yet?" Someone else replies, "They say it has, but I haven't seen anything." A third voice cuts in, "Be careful, could be fake news. Don't believe it until it's official." And honestly, this same conversation has been happening for months. For some people, it has been happening for years. The word Rapel, the back payment, has become something everyone hears, but very few have truly felt. Many hope, many also brace themselves for disappointment. There are pensioners who carry a small folded piece of paper in their wallet. Written on it is a promise from the government about the pension back payment. That paper is worn now. The edges are torn, but it has never been thrown away, because that piece of paper represents something that hasn't arrived yet but is still being waited for quietly, with a patience that costs something every single day. Have you ever waited for something so important that every passing day without news felt like a slow kind of defeat? It is like being thirsty in a desert and seeing water on the horizon over and over again, only to discover each time that it was never really there. That is the kind of waiting many retirees have lived through, and that kind of waiting leaves a mark. But this morning feels different, not because of a forwarded message from an unknown number, not because of gossip from the neighbor. This morning, the screen shows an official screenshot from the website of the Ministry of Finance. There is also an announcement from PT TASPEN, the state pension management body, complete with an official header, a clear stamp, and a verified logo. And in the middle of it all, one sentence that makes the heart beat a little faster. The back payment fund for the increase in pensioners' salaries is being officially disbursed through the state's formal channels. The heart lifts, but then fear sneaks in right behind the hope. Not fear of poverty, not fear of hunger, the fear that this is just another dream, the fear that tomorrow morning this news will be gone, replaced again by the same old chatter in the same old group. But this time something is genuinely different. The government has given official confirmation. This is not a chain message. This is not hearsay from a neighbor. This is a state decision being implemented through proper channels. That said, it is important to understand that this process did not happen overnight. Behind the scenes, an enormous amount of work had to be done before a single rupiah could be transferred. The data of millions of pensioners had to be verified individually. Systems had to be updated and cross-checked. Administrative records had to be reviewed so that the funds would reach only the people who were truly entitled. The state could not afford to allow wrong transfers, duplicate entries, or data mismatches that could end up harming the very people the program was designed to help. That is why the disbursement takes time. It is not negligence, it is care. And for pensioners, this news is about so much more than money landing in a bank account. After years of no longer being in active service, every single rupiah carries enormous meaning. A small delay can send the mind spiraling in 10 different directions. Have you ever woken up at 2 in the morning unable to sleep because the electricity bill is past due and you are not sure how to cover it? Have you ever felt a dull headache that had nothing to do with illness, only the mental weight of dividing a fixed monthly income between medicine and groceries? These are the quiet, private struggles that most pensioners carry without ever complaining about them out loud. That is why the government has made it clear. This back payment is not charity. It is not a social aid package. It is not a gift or an act of mercy. This is the full and rightful entitlement of every pensioner, a debt owed by the state to people who gave decades of their lives in public service. The state is paying what it owes, nothing more, nothing less. Think of a man who once woke up every morning at 5:30, pressed his uniform, polished his shoes until they shone, and combed his hair before heading out to serve. He was not chasing wealth. He was not doing it for recognition. He was doing it because he believed his work mattered, because the country needed people willing to show up and do the job with discipline and integrity. Sa tanatama, He endured not that tight traffic, heat, rain, bureaucracy, pressure, deadlines, and the kind of exhaustion that he never talked about when he came home to his wife and children. He protected his family from the weight of it. He just kept showing up. And now, after all of that, what does he ask for in retirement? Not a mansion, not a luxury car, not an overseas holiday. He simply wants to be enough to eat properly, enough to pay for his medication, enough to not feel like a burden to his children, just enough. And this back payment is the answer to that quiet, deeply personal prayer. So let us talk clearly about what this back payment actually is, because many people still do not fully understand it, and that confusion sometimes leads to anxiety or false expectations. When the government announces an increase in pension salaries, that increase often applies retroactively, meaning the effective date might be January, but the system takes several months to adjust. During that adjustment period, pensioners are still receiving the old amount. The difference between the old amount and the new amount accumulated over those months is what becomes the back payment. It does not disappear. It does not expire. The state records it as an outstanding obligation, and eventually that obligation is honored. So if the neighbor's back payment looks larger than yours, that does not mean there has been unfairness or favoritism. The calculation is done automatically by PT Taspen's computer system based on individual data. The final salary grade at the time of retirement matters. The number of months the gap has accumulated matters. Family allowances and dependent information matter. Every variable is different for every person, which is why every back payment amount is different. Two people who retired in the same year at the same grade can still receive different amounts, and that is perfectly normal. For those who want more specific information about their own payment, the Taspen mobile application and the partner bank platforms provide official access to individual records. Do not rely on information shared in WhatsApp groups. Do not spread unverified news. A good piece of advice is harder to spread than a frightening rumor, but the effort to verify before sharing is worth it. Every time a false alarm spreads through a pensioners group, someone's heart races for nothing, and that takes something out of them. Now here is something many people treat as inconvenient, but is actually critically important: authentication, verification of identity. Many pensioners have heard this term and quietly dreaded it, assuming it would mean long queues, complicated paperwork, or multiple trips to the office. But the reason it exists is simple and fair. The state needs to confirm that the person receiving the pension payment is still alive and still entitled to it. This is standard practice in pension systems all over the world, and it exists not to punish anyone but to protect everyone. It ensures that funds go to the right hands and not to accounts that belong to people who have passed away but whose records have not yet been updated. Today, this process is as simple as scanning your face through the official application. A few seconds, no queue, no paperwork. If the smartphone feels overwhelming, the partner banks offer assistance in person so that no one is left behind by technology. But if this step is not completed within the required window, the system may temporarily hold the payment. Temporarily, not cancel, not delete, not permanently withdraw. The entitlement stays intact. It simply waits until the verification is done. The moment that is resolved, the process continues. So please do not panic if you hear the word held. Just verify and it moves forward. This is also where family members play a role that cannot be overstated there. Many elderly pensioners are not comfortable with smartphones. The buttons confuse them. The applications feel foreign. The steps seem too many. And sometimes they feel embarrassed to ask for help because they do not want to seem out of touch with the times. But a Dasaldo grandchild taking 10 minutes to sit beside their parent and help them scan their face for verification is not just an administrative act. It is love made practical. It tells the parent quietly without words that they are not alone in this, that someone is still paying attention, that they still matter. Now, alongside this good news, there is a warning that must be taken seriously. Every time a large disbursement is announced publicly, fraud attempts multiply like mushrooms after rain. The criminals know that pensioners are waiting with heightened hope. They know that in moments of anticipation, people are slightly more trusting and slightly less cautious. They exploit that window, know the patterns. Someone will call claiming to be a Taspen officer. The voice is calm and professional. They know your full name and maybe your ID number. They say there is a problem with your data and ask you to share your PIN to fix it. Someone else sends a text message or WhatsApp that looks almost identical to an official bank communication. It says your account will be blocked due to suspicious activity and includes a link to verify. The link leads to a site that looks exactly like the real thing but is not. There are also those who ask for an administrative fee. claiming that a payment of 250,000 rupiah will speed up the disbursement of your back payment. They say it is a small cost compared to the amount you will receive. Here is the rule, simple and absolute. TASPEN and official banks never ask for your PIN, your OTP, your card number, or any sensitive information over the phone or through a chat message. Never. If anyone asks for an administrative fee to release your funds, that is a scam. 100%. The entire disbursement process is funded by the state. There is no legitimate reason to request even a single rupiah from a pensioner before releasing their entitlement. If you receive a call like this, stay calm, end the call, and contact the official helpline through the number listed on the official website. Do not call back numbers that contacted you. Do not click links sent to you via text or chat. These are not hypothetical dangers. Real pensioners have had their accounts emptied because they panicked and trusted someone who sounded official and spoke with authority. The criminals are skilled at using language that sounds familiar, that references real programs and real processes, and that creates a sense of urgency that bypasses careful thinking. Slow down, breathe, hang up if needed, check through official channels only. Now let us talk about something that rarely gets discussed in group chats but is felt deeply by almost every pensioner. The real reason this back payment matters so much is not just the number itself. It is everything that the wait has cost. Retirement is not the peaceful reward it is sometimes imagined to be. Income drops sharply, needs do not, health costs rise. The body requires more maintenance than it used to. Medicine becomes a regular line item in the monthly budget, not an occasional expense. And through all of it, most pensioners maintain something very important to them, their dignity. They do not complain. They do not ask their children for money unless there is truly no other way. They manage silently, carefully, sometimes creatively. They stretch every rupiah until it can stretch no more. And when there is a gap between the old pension amount and what they were supposed to receive, they absorb that gap in silence and wait. The anxiety does not show up as anger or protest. It shows up as insomnia. It shows up as a heaviness over morning coffee. It shows up as a smile that takes more effort than it should. This is why the back payment is about more than the money. When it arrives, it says something to the person receiving it. It says that the years they gave were remembered, that the sacrifices they made in service did not disappear the day they handed in their badge, that the state has not moved on and forgotten them, that they still matter to the institution they served even now, even at this stage of life. For some pensioners, the money will be spent almost immediately on things that have been waiting too long. A medical procedure put off for months, a small debt to a neighbor, only 500,000 rupiah but a quara, but it has lingered unpaid for so long that it sits heavy on the conscience. A stock of rice and cooking oil that will ease the next few months. That is not careless spending. That is responsible survival. The money goes where it is most needed, and that is exactly what it was meant to do. Others will set aside a portion as a reserve. This is wise. At this stage of life, takiruma security is more comforting than indulgence. A modest amount sitting untouched in a savings account can quiet fears that no reassurance can reach. It means that if a health emergency appears, there is something to fall back on. It means one less reason to wake up anxious at 3 in the morning. What must be avoided is the wave of investment offers that tends to follow every large disbursement. Small capital, large return, guaranteed profit, no risk. These phrases are the language of fraud dressed in excitement. Many pensioners have been drawn in by this kind of promise, convinced that perhaps this time it is real, perhaps this is the opportunity they deserve after all the waiting. And too often the result is devastating. The money disappears. The people behind the scheme vanish. And what was supposed to bring relief becomes another source of grief. At this stage of life, safety matters more than speed. A modest interest rate at a trustworthy bank is far better than a promised doubling of funds at a platform no one has verified. There is no shame in saying, let me think about this. There is great wisdom in saying, I will discuss this with my family first. Because this money came from decades of service and it deserves to be treated with the same seriousness and patience that earned it. To the children and grandchildren of pensioners, there is something important to say here. If you're helping your parents manage this process, helping them check their account, helping them with the verification app, helping them navigate the bank, let your intention be pure. Help them because you love them. Help them because they deserve to receive what is theirs without confusion or difficulty. Do not let your help become control. Do not make decisions about their money for them. Do not arrive with a list of your own financial needs the moment you hear the payment has arrived. There are families where the pension becomes a source of conflict. Children who feel entitled to a share without having earned it. relatives who appear only when funds are expected. These situations cause pain that goes far deeper than any financial difficulty. A pensioner who spent their whole career maintaining dignity should not have to defend their own money in their own home. Family should be the safest place to be, not another negotiation. For widows, widowers, and orphan children listed as legal heirs, the back payment carries a meaning that is both practical and profound. It is the state's acknowledgement that the one who served is gone, but their family is not forgotten. Their sacrifice is still honored. Their loved ones are still protected. That is a statement worth something, and it should be received and managed with the same care that the original pension was always meant to represent. One last practical note: dormant bank accounts can cause transfer failures. If an account has not been used recently, the disbursement sent to it may be returned to the sender, and the process of correcting this can take weeks. Make sure the account registered for pension receipt is still active. If any details have changed, such as a new account number, a change of address, or an update to beneficiary information following the passing of a pensioner, report this through official channels promptly. Administrative accuracy is not bureaucratic inconvenience. It is what makes the system work smoothly for everyone. This back payment is not just the conclusion of a long wait. It is a signal about the direction that things should continue to move. Pensioners deserve a system that is responsive, clear, and human in the way it treats them. They deserve to be able to access their own information without needing a technology expert in the family. They deserve service windows at banks that move at a pace appropriate for elderly visitors. They deserve communication that is honest and timely, not reassurances that leave questions unanswered for months. The expectation is not extravagance. The expectation is dignity. It is the right to spend the final chapter of a life well lived with some measure of ease and security. It is the right to receive what was promised at on time, without having to fight for it, without having to be afraid, and without having to carry the worry alone. May this back payment bring genuine relief to every household it reaches. May it ease the burdens that have been carried silently. May it serve as a reminder that service is never truly forgotten, even when the days of active duty are long past. And may every pensioner find in it not just financial support, but the quiet reassurance that they still matter, that they are still seen, and that the country they served has not stopped caring for them. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.